Hi everybody, it's Irene with BrainStormAcres, and today we're doing some scrambling. We have some weather coming in this week that's supposed to give us rain. Now, the last two storms that they promised us would give us rain went around us. We could see the storms south of us, we could see the storms north of us, and we got, 10 raindrops here. We really could use some rain right now. So we're going to make a bet on the fact that they actually are going to give us rain this time. Now, what I'm doing today is, if you've been following us, you've been seeing that we're working on some of our early planting. When we lived in Massachusetts, there's a spring thaw that happens end of January, sometimes in February. And during that time frame, we used to plant our peas. And then after we got them all planted and watered in, it would snow and everything would disappear. But the very minute that the weather warmed up in the spring, the peas would vault from the ground, all ready to grow and do their thing. Now we had a very different garden there. Just the backyard had 5 maple trees. So we had all of those maple leaves, and that yard had generations of all of those maple leaves because they were all big trees, so they'd been there for a long time. So the quality of the soil there was quite good. And I have 2 helpers this morning. I don't know if you can see them, but Isa just decided to jump into the wheelbarrow because that's always a good idea. And Jack's just wandering around inspecting the place. I used to cover my beds, my veggie beds, in the fall. I would get everything cleaned out of them, and then I would cover them with piles of leaves. And by the time it was time to plant the peas in January or February, most of that would have already rotted down. Here we have no trees. Now, if you look around, we have trees. They're all conifers. These conifers are no good for production of leaves. We do have desert holly. It's actually, it's a bearberry. It has tiny little leaves about that big that they look like holly leaves. This is why we call them desert holly. And every single one of those points on that holly is a spike. So you don't compost that stuff, it just turns into like needles. I suppose eventually it breaks down, but it like crushes to micro stuff. So there is no source of organics here. So every year we buy as much as we can afford to in terms of compost. My goal today is to clean this bed. This bed had tomatoes, peppers, basil, and it still has one lone parsley plant. These rocks were all here because they were used to hold down the planter's paper that provided an artificial mulch. It dramatic weed reduction, and also does help to keep the soil more moist because it actually literally keeps the wind away. Super windy today. I need to get going. So I am not a big glove wearer. However, when it's time to pick up rocks and stuff like that, that's a good idea in Arizona because there's things under the rock sometimes that will bite you. I've only found a few scorpions here, but nonetheless, it's a safety precaution. And having been stung by an ant years and years ago, one of the big ones, bit me several times because I was careless. It's got a neurotoxin in it, and that finger didn't work well for a couple months, so I want to avoid that. I'm just going to be moving these and clearing everything out. Okay, pretty much cleaned up. I have to go help Henry, so I'll be back.